G'day there guys, big fan of sleeping, eating, and just generally being alive here. It's your main man Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the A-hole. Now with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some of today's bloody good stories. Thank you. Posted by user car12269. Titled, Am I the a-hole for ordering pizza to my boyfriend's parents' house when they threw me a birthday dinner party with no food that I could eat? I am stuck in a different state than my family and friends right now due to the virus. So on my birthday, my boyfriend and parents were going to throw me a small party. Just me, my boyfriend, and his little siblings, and his parents. A super low-key dinner. I'm vegetarian. I have been for 13 years. It's not anything new or anything that people don't know. So when I went to their house and saw them cooking pasta with bacon pieces and cooking up veggies in the bacon grease pan, I realized there was nothing I could have except beer, and I was hungry. I reminded them I don't eat meat, and they were like, "You can pick the bacon bits out, they're just sprinkled on top, and give them to your boyfriend. He'll eat anything. And we made vegetables that you can eat too." I didn't want to pick meat out of the pasta or eat vegetables that were cooked in bacon fat, so I said I wasn't sure. I didn't like meat flavor at all. I might have something else. They said there was hardly any bacon grease in the pan. While they'd used it for bacon, they just didn't wash in between, but I wouldn't even taste it. Then I ordered a pizza to their house, and when it arrived, his parents were mad and upset that I had. I said that I mentioned that I wasn't into eating meat, so I might get my own food. My boyfriend and I left early and went out ice skating, so the day turned out fine, lol. Am I the a-hole for ordering pizza? I feel like the family is probably just ignorant of the fact that cooking stuff in bacon grease makes it not a vegetarian option. So, I can fault them on that one for their ignorance, but at the same time it's understandable that they didn't understand, if you understand what I'm trying to put down. Sure, it could come across as a bit rude from you just ordering pizza while there's perfectly good food available for you and offered to you, but the fact is you made it clear that you couldn't eat it and that you wouldn't eat it, and they didn't give you a reasonable alternative that fits in your dietary guidelines. Perfectly permissible for you to order your own food, get your own pizza. Too bad, so sad that they're going to get upset at that. It doesn't make you an a-hole for doing it. It makes them kind of dickish in my mind for not giving you a reasonable alternative. So in this situation, in this universe, you are not the a-hole. Maybe in a parallel universe, something different happens. And OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I ordered pizza to my birthday dinner party because they didn't cook vegetarian dinner. I completely glossed over the fact it was a birthday dinner party. That makes it even more egregious on their side. They suck. They suck. There's no explanation for it. The parallel universe, they dive even deeper into this sucky hole. These people are basically vacuum cleaners at this point. Hole P 1870 says, "Not the a-hole in my opinion. What else were you supposed to do? Starve? I guess they thought I'd be fine to serve myself pasta and just pick around the bacon pieces when serving. And I think they thought I wouldn't care about eating vegetable that had been cooked in the same pan as the bacon without washing. Apparently, since it's a treated cast iron pan, they never wash it with soap, lol. Why is that a lol? Cleaning a cast iron pan involves scrubbing it with salt, then rinsing it with hot water, then treating it with a little bit of oil so it doesn't rust. They could just cook it in a pan that isn't cast iron for that purpose. I know plenty of people with cast iron, but I don't know a single person who only has cast iron cookware. Not the a-hole. If this party was supposed to be for you, I don't know why asking you what you wanted wasn't the first order of business. But even if they couldn't be bothered to do that, who makes the guest of honor a dish that's focused on the flavor of an ingredient they can't eat? That's exactly my thoughts. They invited her over for her birthday and didn't even ask what she wanted? I remember the first time my parents cooked for my now wife. My mum asked if what she was making was okay. She's not even a vegetarian, but my mum still made sure everything would be okay. Also, my sister-in-law doesn't eat pork, and we easily plan around that. It's not that hard to plan around someone's dietary needs. They can always just make meat on the side for everyone else. Not the a-hole. As someone who has gone back and forth between strict vegetarianism for a few years and back to eating meat again, I can tell you that there's a good chance that bacon grease would have done a number on your stomach. I still don't eat a lot of meat, but I try to have it every now and then, just so I don't have to go through that terrible reintroduction process again. After 13 years, I'm guessing the bacon grease would have been really foreign to your digestive system. Even if it wouldn't, so what? This would have been rude in any circumstance, doubly so when the celebration is nominally for her. My sister hates mushrooms. It's a preference, sure, but she hates them. For her last birthday we celebrated, I made a butternut squash risotto as a side dish. I would have been a real tramp if I made a mushroom risotto instead, knowing how much the birthday girl hates mushrooms. Our next post is by user Kittens on My Lap, titled, "Am I the a-hole for blowing up at my boyfriend just because he was ignorant?" His words. I'll try to keep this short. I, 19 female, slept over at my boyfriend's, 23 male, place, and I unexpectedly got my period during the night, irregular cycle. He freaked out, I was embarrassed and offered to wash the sheets. He wasn't having any of it and basically told me I must be irresponsible and disgusting, yelling the whole time. At that point, I got annoyed too and told him he was acting like a real a-hole. I went to take a quick shower and was about to go home when he stopped me to continue the argument. I explained to him that I can't control when they happen, that they can be irregular as hell, and that they're not that gross. He was talking about throwing away the sheets, and the stain wasn't even that big, and I put them in the washer before I showered. He told me that he didn't know those things, and that I'm unreasonable for being mad at him for just a misunderstanding, and that he couldn't have known since they didn't teach him that in school. Obviously, I'm not mad at him for not knowing, I'm mad at him for assuming he knew better and reacting by yelling at me. He's mad because I'm mad, and he thinks that I can't be mad about ignorance, since it's not his fault. I apologized for calling him an a-hole, but he doesn't want to apologize for yelling. Am I the a-hole? I only want him to apologize for yelling. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. Because I called him an asshole and don't want to make up yet. I think this is one of those small crossroads in a relationship where it's genuinely a questionable time to be like, is this something I hold on to and make a point of, or am I being a bit too overly dramatic, or are they the problem? It's sometimes good to bring these to third parties because having an unbiased outsider's perspective can give you, or not give you, the advice that you need. I would say in this situation, I'm kind of on your side for it. Yes, he's ignorant of the processes that go on in the human body, and that these things happen, but I don't think that him not apologizing for it is the hill that he wants to die on. That kind of sucks from him. Like, do you really need to prove that point? Is it so necessary to hold that above your partner? It just seems petty and stupid, and I can't find a logical reason besides he's embarrassed about apologizing for something like that, for making a big deal about it. If OP can let it go, surely OP's partner can let it go also. That just seems like a stupid sticking point to me. So I'm gonna go with not the a-hole on this one. I wouldn't want to make up yet either, but plenty of people have made up over worse situations than this, and I can't fault you if you do make up, because sometimes we just have to agree to disagree and move on. Anna Schema says, not the a-hole, but those are some huge red flags. Apologizing will tell him he is right to go screaming about his assumption. You need to sit with him and have a calm, rational conversation about what you were mad about and how he could have acted differently. And if he's unwilling or incapable of doing so, then the relationship is probably doomed. Part of the process of unlearning toxic masculinity is unlearning the reactive disgust us guys are taught to express towards feminine hygiene things. And honestly, it's just blood, not like it's poop or anything. Even if my significant other pooped the bed, My first reaction would not be anger and disgust, but worry. Same with urine. I'd assume that he's ill. I can't imagine waking up to my partner bleeding, even if it's only a period, and go straight to yelling at her for it. What a dick. Seriously, I woke up in the middle of the night once and realized that I had wet the bed. I was mortified. But I woke up my wife and we got up, changed the sheets and both showered before going back to bed. We had a bed liner due to having a newborn. Weird bonus for the win. Next morning, I was expecting her to have an adverse reaction to it. No, more like, hey, you've talked about seeing a therapist for PTSD symptoms before. Maybe we need to revisit this topic because Exhibit P? Long story short, that's what I did and am much better now. Probably wouldn't have done it without her support. Lightworthy09 says, not the a-hole. He's a grown-ass man. His lack of education is his own fault and no one else's. As other people have already said, a man who doesn't know how the reproductive system works has no business having sex with anyone. I had an unexpected period start when I was staying the night with my husband when we first started dating. I left early for work, so he mentioned it to me later that day. I was mortified and apologized over and over and offered to replace the sheets, and he laughed at me. It's fine, I already washed them and put them back on the bed. It's not like you did that on purpose. Which is the only correct response. This is a much better response, yes. He sounds sweet. You're right. Being mature enough to have sex means being mature enough to deal with the embarrassing bodily things that happen. And Judge Jed 100 says, not the a-hole. 1. He shouted at you first. 2. He's 23 years old. Using school as an excuse doesn't fly. He's had plenty of time to educate himself. 3. He treated it as if it was a serious biohazard that needed to be dealt with majorly. And 4. He tried to turn it around and make you responsible for how he acted. For real. And numbers 1 and 4 are really the kicker. Yes, it's bad that he doesn't know periods can be irregular, and it's annoying that he thinks it's gross. Though, if he hasn't experienced this before, I can imagine it may be shocking. Like when I got my first period and stained my own sheets. They were heavy periods and it was freaky the first time. But his first reaction was to yell at OP and then double down and make excuses for his behavior. And that's a deliberate choice. He could have easily been freaked out or even uneasy about the blood, but said something like, "Are you okay?" instead of, "Ew, you're disgusting." Posted by user GoodAds6014, titled, Am I the a-hole for letting my kids live in filth? So I'm currently a stay-at-home mum to 4 kids, a 10, 8, 2, and 1-year-old. As you can imagine, the house gets messy if I don't keep on it constantly. Throughout this pandemic, everyone has been home. Hubby is working from home, my 10-year-old and 8-year-old are distance learning, and the babies are, well, they're babies. They're always home. This normally isn't a problem for me. I have to clean a bit more and help my older ones with school, but all in all, not too much has changed for myself. My family, on the other hand, seem to think being home all day every day is grounds to be lazy 24/7. I do not put up with this, but somehow my floor is a catch-all. When I talk to everyone or discuss some chore charts, everyone agrees with me, then goes right back to normal. The older kids have completely lost their allowance due to this. On to the incident. A little under a week ago, I told everyone it's their responsibility to clean. I would still wipe stuff down, wash the dishes, do laundry and mop/vacuum, but it was up to everyone else to put dishes in the sink, clothes in the hamper, and make sure surfaces and floors are picked up enough for me to do my part. My family has done none of this, and to be honest, I'm probably kind of a dick about it. Oh, you don't have anything to eat off of? Guess you should have put the dishes in the sink. I do still feed everyone. Oh, you tripped over the crap in the floor? Maybe it would help if you picked it up. My family is slowly getting the hints and coming up with a plan to tackle the mess. My mother-in-law thought it was a good idea to make a surprise visit and saw the state of my house. She was disgusted and proceeded to bitch me out for not doing my job. I told her I'm not doing my job plus hers by teaching my husband/her son and my kids how to pick up after themselves. She threw a fit and threatened to call CPS for letting my family live in filth. I told her to get out of my house. My husband has apologized, but I'm starting to feel bad. Am I the a-hole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I feel like the arse because it's my job to care for everyone. While that may be true in some regards, it's not entirely true. It's not entirely your job to care for everyone. Your husband also has obligations to care for everyone in the family, and that includes you as well. And it seems like the way he's approaching the house, by not picking up the slack, by not disciplining the kids for not doing their fair share, and expecting you to pick up most of the load, it just shows that he doesn't care, and he will continue not to care unless something changes. Your mother-in-law is going off the rails for this one. She saw a problem, one that really isn't too bad, and then she jumped into a pool of just toxicity and was like, I'm calling this Child Protective Services. How dare you have a filthy floors? What is this? You're a woman like me. We need to be cleaning everything. That's our jobs. This is your fault. This can't be my husband's fault. It's like textbook r/just no mother-in-law, crazy entitled woman paradox, whatever. Those sort of freakouts don't fly in reality, and I cannot blame you for kicking her out. That's unnecessary stress, that's uncalled for, she's crazy, I hate her. Yes, there's always more that we can do to help, and there's more that people can do to be a better influence in the house. I can't say that you've been the best, and I can't say that you've been the worst influence. You're a person, you're a human, we make mistakes, and we don't always do the best because that's human. All you can do from here on out is do your best every day, come together with the family, talk to them more, tell them about the crazy mother-in-law and how she's not speaking logically, she's just speaking stupidly. And I can't fault you for how things have gone so far. I'm gonna go with not the a-hole for this one. Soulmate122 says, not the a-hole. You're a stay-at-home mum, not a slave. The children, I'm including your husband in that, should do the bare minimum of tidying up after themselves. Your mother-in-law is so unbelievably far out of line, threatening to call Child Protective Services on you, and you had every right to kick her out. Calling CPS would be reporting both parents anyway. CPS does not assign chores to one parent or another. Both would be held responsible, and both would be investigated. This shows how much mother-in-law sees her son as a little kid who should be babied by his wife. Gross. Swissy Queen says, not the a-hole. It's good that your husband apologized, and honestly, your husband needs to step up because if he doesn't do his part, the children just learn from him and that it's okay not respecting mum's work and time. Yeah. You really need to sit down with him and crack down on this because it's pretty clear that the kids are taking his lead in this situation. And it's a bad lead that's going to lead to a lot of fighting when they're older and having to deal with housemates or something with no intention or obligation to clean up after them. And Mean Thought says, not the a-hole. Also, I would consider never allowing mother-in-law in your home again if she thinks it's truly okay to threaten you with calling CPS. A decent mother-in-law might ask if everything is okay. Ding ding ding. Someone who wants to call CPS as a first action is not okay. What was she gonna say? My dear son is home all day, but his wife doesn't clean enough. She should be apologizing to OP if she wants to visit ever again. Not the a-hole. Posted by user CG3490764, titled, Am I the a-hole for not letting my son's former fiancé see him? I have a deceased son named Adam. Adam passed away 2 months ago. He was only 21 years old and was suffering from a chronic heart condition. He introduced me to his then girlfriend when he was 19, and told me they were expecting a baby and wanted to get engaged. I supported them with all I could, although I still helped with medical expenses. He was working a job, studying, and paying bills. He was exhausted but excited to be a dad, and he loved his son more than himself. 3 months after his son was born, Adam's condition got worse. He spent time in and out of the hospital. He was in a wheelchair, and he was too weak to walk but was aware of what was happening. His fiancée moved back with her parents. After my son requested to see his baby, she declined and didn't allow it. She didn't even visit, just called. I talked to her and told her Adam was at my home and she should come see him and bring their baby with her. She came, but only to give back the ring, saying this was too much for her and will not live like that. She said she wanted to move on and provide for her son. My son was devastated. Next thing we knew, she flew out of the country before we could even consult a lawyer. We knew nothing about where she was, and all means of communication were cut. It was hard watching my son sad, missing his son. All he had of his baby were pictures. He was devastated, and he was melting like a candle in front of me, and I stood there helpless. I got him a medical device because he had trouble breathing on his own. 2 months ago, he was admitted to the hospital. He had late-stage heart failure and was on a vent machine. The doctor was honest with me and said that Adam was too weak for another surgery. I was devastated. I let the family know what was happening, including Adam's friends. Turns out one of his friends was in contact with Adam's former fiancée on social media and told her. Next thing I knew was she was standing in front of me wanting to see Adam. I was surprised to see her. I politely told her to leave, but she insisted she brought mutual friends to try to convince me, but I refused, and I got mad and had to get the security officer involved, and she ended up being told to leave right then. She started yelling at me and told me I had no right, called me cruel and other names that I can't say here. Adam's friends sided with her and were yelling at me too. I felt too much pressure. Adam passed away later that day at 6 p.m. I couldn't take it. I found myself dealing with her and their friends yelling at me again. My brother thought what I did was wrong. The funeral wasn't quiet nor peaceful, as I had to argue with everyone pointing out what I did was cruel. I was carrying my grief along with this. She again stopped me from seeing my grandbaby as a way to spite me for what I did. I know there has to be something I can do. This is my grandbaby. I need to answer 2 questions. She didn't show up with the baby. I don't think she even brought him with her on her trip, and Adam was already unconscious that day. He was unconscious for days. And OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I realize what I did might be seen as cruel, as everyone thinks. I don't think this is a hard one to answer. I feel like this is a clear not the a-hole. This woman just up and walked out on this man, jumped to another country with his son as soon as there was a sign of his condition getting worse. In that case, unless she came back and set things right with OP's son before he died, then there is no coming back from that. That's way more egregious than OP not allowing her to see him before he passes. If he wasn't unconscious before that, I'm sure he would have told her to piss off too. Like, that's a very heartless thing to do to someone. There is very little coming back from that. I feel like OP is justified in her actions, and I completely support it. So I'm going with not the a-hole. Yes, it can be seen as cruel, especially by the friends and family who could be told another story by this woman, but once the truth comes out, I'm pretty sure they would side with OP. And if they don't, then those aren't people you need in your life. Random user 133 says, "Not the a-hole. She left him when he needed her the most. She had no right to be there. She wasn't his fiancée anymore. You don't leave someone who you love in hard times. She was cruel for leaving him and not letting him see his son, not you. I'm sorry for your loss, OP. Stay strong." Sounds like the baby mama has a heart condition too. It's called not having one. Not the a-hole. She knowingly got into a relationship with someone suffering from a heart condition. A condition which, might I add, you paid the medical bills for, and then abandoned the guy when it got too real. even keeping him away from his son. For all you knew, you were being protective of him, even if your actions were probably also rooted in some spite. I'm very sorry for your loss. I can forgive deciding that it's more than she can deal with, even if she initially thought she could handle it. Running off with his child and going no contact is a complete a-hole move though. Info. She abandoned him, took their child, and now wants to pretend she cares? However, I do have a question. Did you ask Adam what he wanted? Do you think Adam would want to see her, or would find it too distressing at the time? I do think that the person being cruel is the one sending flying monkeys to crap on you when you were the one taking care of him. And OP replies, all he ever talked about was his son. From what I understand, she came without him, so she had no intentions of letting us see the baby. Adam was already unconscious when she came, and it was sudden, and I didn't expect her to come back. I'm going not the a-hole, because the only person who would benefit is the woman who abandoned him, not Adam himself since he was unconscious. She doesn't get to pretend she's his grieving widow when she stole his child from him. I'm betting she's doing this because she knows she's a crap person and didn't get to do some performative nonsense to cleanse her own conscience. I'd point out that she didn't show up with the child, so Adam could have theoretically said goodbye, and that you've been doing all the work caring for him. Anybody who doesn't understand that should be blocked. She probably wanted to see if her son was getting any inheritance, life insurance, etc. If you wanted to cleanse your own conscience, you wouldn't attack OP or make a scene at the funeral. Definitely some food for thought on that one. G'day there guys, and that's the end of today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed it and were entertained by today's bloody good content. As always, I want to do a quick shout out and a thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your beautiful faces and names will be up on screen right now. Haven't forgot about you guys, sorry I was taking a little break there. So yeah, if you see yourself, give yourself a pat on the back. If you want to be on this screen, there's links down to the description below where you can sign up and help support the channel and all future projects that I'm going to be doing on this one. With all that said, I hope you guys have an amazing day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to. I'll see you in the next episode, and I do hope you enjoy it. Thank you.